Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Monday, July 21st, a little after 8:15 at night, and this will be our video covering trades, holdings, and options for ULTY, YieldMax's Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, and LFGY, YieldMax's Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income ETF, but realistically it should just be called the Crypto Industry ETF. And just a reminder, I'm on X. I let you know when videos are coming out, plus other things related similar to distributions, or as far as my Round Hill videos, I let you know what they traded as well. So at ETF_inspector1. All right, let's jump right into it. It was so as far as overall markets, things weren't too bad. If we scroll down to like our indexes, all right, they were up, kind of gave back a little bit at the end of the day, especially the Russell kind of dropped slightly negative, but overall markets were up. So I get the question, hey, how come ULTY underperformed the market? Well, if you looked at our stocks within the fund on the thumbnail, you saw a whole lot more red than you saw green. So although the market overall is doing well, and not that they're doing poorly, but we're giving some back. We're coming up off of, coming down off of some highs on a whole lot of the stocks within ULTY. LFGY, similar, not quite to the same degree, but still a very good portion of it in the red. We'll go more into detail on our charts, so just kind of giving you a visual right there. So we go to YieldMax website after 5:30, sometimes 6 o'clock. We scroll down and we download the intraday trades. It gives us something that looks like this, and it's kind of boring to look at, right? Doesn't tell you a whole lot. So I take that and put it in our spreadsheets, do some calculations, and make it give it more information, right? Because it just will tell you the amount of shares and or contracts and the price. You don't get the calculation there. You don't have positives and negatives. So ULTY starts at line 62 and goes all the way to 159, so 97 trades there. And then LFGY starts at 161, goes to 216. So what's that, 55? But we like it to look a little better. So we start with ULTY. We'll start with the trades. That's what everybody is a little bit more interested in. A reminder, if you didn't see Sunday's video, you ought to check it out. The Sunday video is everybody's favorite. It's a little longer, but a whole lot more in-depth details. Overall, we came up with an 11-cent estimate. I may be shooting for the moon a little bit. It's probably more like 10, but the value of the fund increased by 112 million last week. So come on, give us 11 cents. But anyway, as far as if you saw Friday, new money came in a good bit. So they put that to work on Monday. They bought more of every single stock or fund within the fund, as well as, if you noticed, an additional ticker on there, INOD, that's InnoData or InnoData .Inc., and they bought a lot of it, about 50, more than 50, 55 round million of it, dollars worth. Okay, from there, for the majority of these, we're going to be able to get through these trades quicker than usual. I don't want to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. So anytime we buy new shares, we maximize our income strategy on it. So we're going to sell more calls out of the money, and then we're going to buy puts out of the money to protect those shares. So that being said, I'm going to roll through these pretty quick because that's for the large percentage. You guys laugh when I just pull a percentage out of thin air. So a large percentage of these, that's all they did. We do have a couple of actual trades or rolls. So AAOI, that's the case. Almost $125,000 credit. I'm going to call these credits and debits as opposed to profits and losses, even though this is a realized trade. So $125,000 came into into their pockets basically on that one. And AMD, since we don't have a collar strategy, we have a debit call spread or a bull call spread or a long call spread. We put more money to work in that one. We don't have shares to protect, so we didn't buy puts. We just bought more of the in the money calls, and we sold more of the out of the money calls. So when you put that more money to work, it actually costs you some. So that's a debit of $270,000. Now we got a nice run. AppLovin, AST, Space Mobile, Coinbase, and First Solar, just selling more options to go along with the new shares. That came to $39,000, $94,000, $38,000, and $62,000 credits on those. Hood, this is our first roll. We closed out some already, just taking a win and kind of pulling our strike closer. So we closed out the 114s and we sold 111s and adjusted the puts as well. That resulted in a $561,000 credit. InnoData, right? We just put bought $55 million worth of shares, so we got lots of options to sell. We sold out to August 15th. Now, I'd have to look it up. I should have done some homework, but I'm starting so late, I didn't want to. Generally, when they're pushing that far out, it's because the stock itself, the underlying, doesn't have quite the same offering of options, so they might only trade monthly options. So we'll find that out between now and the next time, but that's most likely the case because we like to sell out to this week or next week generally. So we brought in 1.7, almost $1.8 million on all those options plays, so we like that. IonQ, just selling new options to go with the new shares, $63,000 credit. Mara took a win on that one, closed out 34,000-ish contracts, paying 18 and 22 cents, and brought them closer. Kept it within the same week, 7/25 expiration date. We brought them down from 21s to 20s and $20.50. So kind of split it up. $729,000 credit. MSTR, Nebius, MicroStrategy or Strategy now, Nebius and ServiceNow just bought more shares, sold new options, $46,000, $61,000, and $67,000 profits. Oklo, this is another roll. That's why we got the orange, right? It's under construction. We're changing things on our sheet. So closed out our 72s and 73s for this week and still kept it within the week, but we dropped them down to 69s. $369,000. All you immature people out there, I just said 69 twice in the same sentence. And I think almost all the rest of them. So we got Palantir, Reddit, Rigetti, Supermicro Computer, NewScale Power, Tempest AI, Tesla, and Upstart. All of them just selling new options to go with the new shares we just purchased. Those are credits of $52,000, $105,000, $60,000, $32,000, $55,000, $18,000, $72,000, and almost $55,000 respectively. We get to the end. Vertiv Holdings, we have the debit call spread or the bull call spread. So that we put more money to work, right? We're not dealing with shares, so we just bought more of the in the money calls and we sold more of the out of the money calls. So that was a debit of just about $100,000. And then finally, Vistra Corp, selling new options to go with the new shares, $46,000 credit. So you haven't heard this much lately, but we had a positive on our trading profit and loss or credits and debits, right? So we brought in $4.1 million as far as all these option trades today. As you can see, that comes with the territory, right? When the stocks skyrocket and our values go up, we lose on the trades. When the stocks go down and we lose value, we win on the trades. So it's one of those days. So the question was asked on hey, how come ULTY underperformed the market? So although we're making out well on our options trades, our income, maybe we'll get paid out of the income as opposed to return on capital this week, but the week's early. Anything could happen. We lost value in our underlyings. So as we go through, If you want to look over here, you got your change in market value. You can see it for each stock. We're not going to really worry about that as we run through. You'll just see the total at the bottom, plus you already just saw it, 39-ish million. So Applied Electronics, Optoelectronics, down 1.4%. They didn't touch their options. That's going to be the case for almost all of them. If you remember, we just showed orange when it was a roll. That'll correspond with orange to go here. So helps us keep track of what we're talking about. So they've got 30s and 30/50s that are sold for this week, 6.2 and 8% out of the money. Obviously everything's going to be looking pretty good here after today, but we'll see. AMD, we don't have any shares, so we just have this debit call spread, so we want the 150s in the money. That's why they're not red when they're in the money, because red seems like bad. So we color blue, just this is what we're keeping an eye on. It's at 157, so these are $7 in the money. So as you can see, they've got good value. We're going to get to sell these and collect on that. And so as that 160s, as time ticks away, they will become cheaper to close out. And if the stock price increases, these will gain more value. So that's how that's working. AppLovin, up 0.5%, just about. Still out of the money on all the options. No action taken. We've got 375s, 380s, and 385s. 2.4, 3.7, and 5.1% out of the money. AST Space Mobile dropped 2.25%. That brought their options 7.6% out of the money. Coinbase down about 1.5%. We've got two for this week, 440s and 450s. They're 6.3 and 8.7% out of the money. And then we've got some sold out till next week at 440. They are also 6.3% out of the money. First Solar, this was our big winner of the day, up 1.4%. Haven't seen a day where 1.4 was the winner in a while, but unfortunately it was on one where we started in the money and we went deeper in the money. But it's not terrible. It's only Monday. We got a lot of time that can decay away before we have to close these out. So the 175s are 1.8% in the money, and the 177.50s are 0.5% in the money. The 182.50s are still looking good. That's our biggest position here. They are 2.3% out of the money. Not First Solar, we just said that. Robinhood down almost 5%. We went ahead and closed. These were part of the roll, so they got far enough out of the money they became cheap to close out. I think it was like 97 cents. We closed them out and sold closer to the money. Yeah, we sold 111s. We still have 113s. More than half the positions there. They're 8.3% out of the money. IonQ gave up almost 4.5%. I sold a put today. If you watched my videos over the weekend when I said I didn't get the chance because it kept going up. 47s and 47.50s are 5.7 and 6.9% out of the money. So that bought us a little bit of breathing room. And also you're going to see, so everything on this side of the screen, it was the holdings as of before the start, or basically how things closed on Friday. So these puts that now just got closer to in the money are going to increase in value. Not a lot because they're pretty far out, but I can tell you those 40/50s are probably around 35 to 40 cents now, just from based on where I was selling puts. Mara Holdings down about 3.5%. Their 21s got to be far enough out of the money that they closed them out, rolled them, and brought them closer to the money. I can't remember what we sold. MicroStrategy up 0.7%, still 3.2 and 4.3% out of the money on those 440s and 445s. Nebius Group down 0.8%. 5 and 6.9% out of the money on the 55s and 56s expiring this Friday. ServiceNow, this was the new one from last week, down 0.36%. We've got 1,000 as our strike price for this week. They're 4.1% out of the money. Oklo, believe it or not, they're not the big loser, down 9.38%, but they're further out of the money ones, the 72s and 73s, they went ahead and rolled them down to a closer strike, and they still have 67s that are 7.1% out of the money. Palantir was down 1.1%. They've got 155s, 157.50s, and 160s. They're 2.1, 3.7, and 5.4% out of the money. Reddit dropped 1.3%. They've got 530s that are still in the money even after the drop, so that actually is going to help them. It's good that they didn't close them out. And realistically, if we end up winning those, where people get mad, why are they selling in the money or so close to the money? We're starting in a bad position. Well, we collected a whole lot more premium than we would have if we sold higher. If we end up winning these, they'll look like geniuses. So just always remember, hindsight's 20/20. I don't like to criticize too much. I'll say when I don't understand things or doesn't make sense, but I'm not going to flat out say they're not doing things right. We've got 150s that are 2.5% out of the money, and then they've got 155s for next Friday that are just about 6% out of the money. Rigetti down 6.29%. That helped. That's another one just like that. So we started pretty deep in the money going into the week, and now we're 2.6% out of the money on those 1650s and 5.7% out of the money on the 16s. So looking like geniuses right now. We'll see how things finish. SMCI lost 0.5%, or lost in value, not a true loss because we didn't sell the shares. That'll be the difference there. 6.8 and 8.7% out of the money on those 55s and 56s. Right here you can see their contract. So when it's in gray, it's shares, but when it's not, when it's next to the option, it's a contract. When it's next to the stock itself, it's a quantity of shares. New Scale Power, SMR, the big loser today, down 9.57%. What was the other one? 9.3. How'd I miss it? 9.38. There it is. Okay. SMR, they dropped, gave us some breathing room. 12.2 and 14.4% out of the money. The 52s are the ones we want to win, almost 13 times as much. But I'm surprised. Did I forget to highlight them, or did they really not roll them? Nope, they didn't roll them. Okay, but they will be looking prime for a early week roll if they don't have a big up day. Tempest AI down 4.8%. 64s are 10.3% out of the money. Tesla down 0.35%. We've got 345s and 347.50s. 5 and 5.7% out of the money. Upstart down 2.14%. We've got 82s expiring on Friday. They're almost 7% out of the money now. Then we go to Vertiv, right? We don't own any shares. We just have this debit call spread. We actually have two of them. We have a 123. We purchased 123s to go with 134s, and then we purchased 125s to go with 137s. So the purchased ones, we want them in the money because the more they go in the money, the more valuable they are. We get to sell them at the end. They're 2.5 and just about 1% in the money. They did, however, close and roll this 137. So this is the sold end of it. The further out, they dropped that down to 131, brought it closer to the money, and collected a little bit more premium. And last but not least, Vistra Corp dropped about 2.5%, and that helped. They started in the money, and on the very first day of the week, we dropped out of the money. So that helped. 2.2% out of the money on those. Not that we want to drop. Big picture, we want the stock values to increase. That makes us more money even than what we lose if we lose the trades. So that's best case scenario. So don't get confused. When I say that helped us win the options trade. But overall, we'd be fine if every stock went to the moon. We'd make more money. All right, so that totaled the $39.5 million decrease in value. So before the day started, right? Because I don't get the assets, the holdings, they don't upload until the following morning. So I download that in the morning to update everything. Even though we decreased in value, 39 million. I think we're still going to end up being higher net assets because the way people have been buying into the fund lately has been insane. So we will probably pick up enough shares, especially on a down day. Everybody's been waiting to buy in. But stock price closed around 633, 632. Sometimes this thing acts funny and shows the closing a penny off. Now I'll be wasting time. 633. Okay. All right, so that is the story on ULTY. That's why they were down on a basically up market day, just because the high volatility stocks that they've selected for this fund happen to have a bad day. All right. Next, we will go to LFGY. We're making pretty good time. And I just opened the same thing I just closed. So try it again. All right, LFGY. I believe we only have a couple of rolls. So we don't go into every trade. They didn't buy anything today stock-wise. They didn't sell anything either stock-wise. They do a lot of these small, now today they were just putting more money to work. They, I guess, didn't already have the maximum amount of options sold for their shares, so they were selling some more on a lot of these. But we're not going to sit there and go line by line when they're making $400, $900, things like that. So we will just roll through. Galaxy was an actual roll, and it was a small portion, but they did have all their shares at 255 was 42 contracts. So they had to close those out, and they rolled them to 335 for the same week. That's got to be, 2550, 3350. So paying 485, only collecting $1.13. You're gonna take a net loss on that one, 18,000. Then you just got a lot more selling more options to match up with the shares that they have. And it takes till we get down to PayPal before we have another closeout. So that B is just buy. So if they have are just buying the call, the further out of the money call, that's what they do over here on LFGY. They don't do collars. They don't purchase protective puts. So a B is just a regular buy. BC is a buy to close. They're closing out something that they had already sold, meaning it would have started with an SS, a sell short, or a sell to open. So they're closing out the 73s, and then they're selling to open or selling short 79. So they rolled up and out, up to 79, out to next Friday. Overall lost 37,000 on that. The stock just went beyond their strike, but that's fine. We got a little bit of time value out of it, and now we're looking to collect out of the next option. Riot, same thing. Stock went beyond our strike price, closed out the contracts, sold new ones. Not for very much money either. We're paying $1.22 and only collecting 18 cents. We rolled up $2.50. So $40,000 loss on that one. And then finally Block or XYZ, closing out. Small section here, but then the 567 or so contracts at 73. Kept it within the same week. Paying 17 and 18 cents, collecting 30 at 78, 79 cents. So that was an overall credit of 11,000. So as far as LFGY is concerned, overall it was a debit or a loss day on the trading to $50,000. Pretty minute amount for a $180 million fund. As you can see, shares dropped by about 1.7 million in value. Again, if you missed Sunday's video, I recommend you go back and watch it because you get to understand why we got there. But my guesstimate for this week's payment is 50 cents. We'll all find out together at 6:55 on Wednesday morning. If you're on X, if you follow YieldMax, you'll see it. If you just follow me. I'll repost it, and you'll see it there, and then I'll talk about it in the Wednesday video. All right, BitDeer increased by 0.3%. Their calls sold are at 1450 and 15. They need to win the 1450s for sure, though. 3,800 contracts compared to 180. About 5.5% and 9% out of the money still. Clean Spark down 3.05%. Their 1350s are sold for this Friday, just about 9% out of the money. Coinbase down almost 1.5%. They've got 425s and 450s, but as you can see, more than 12 times, 13 times as many at the 450s. So we could actually lose the 425s and still win. I'd have to run some math. Obviously, there's a whole lot more, but that's a large range to lose money, and the protective side of it is another $45 above. So I don't know. 2.75 and 8.79% out of the money after today's decrease. Core Scientific down 0.6%. We got 14s and 1450s, as you can see, more than 21 times as many at the 1450s. They're 5.5 and 9.2% out of the money. We don't really have any stopper as far as protecting the top end off these 14s, because these 16s go with the 1450s, but that's not to say that you wouldn't use 311 of these contracts to protect those 311. Circle Internet Group down 3.4%. They're 16.8% out of the money. They've just got a real high volatility, over 100, so they were still costing a lot as of Friday to close out. But that's a real nice place to be sitting to win the trades, hopefully. But if you've watched my video, I've been burnt on Circle so much I don't touch them anymore because they can move a lot. Galaxy Digital up 1.1%. They closed out these 2550s. There was only 42 contracts. Really what we're worried about is these 1,200 contracts at 30. They're 9.3% out of the money. GameStop was up almost 4%. That took their 24s in the money, but as of today, no action was taken. So they're going to let some time value tick away and wait to see if they give back some of that increase to see if they can win those trades. Robinhood's the big loser over here, down almost 5%. That took their 117s 12% out of the money and their 120s 15% out of the money. No action was taken, though. Hut 8 Corp down 1.3%. 23s are 7.7% out of the money, and 2350s are 10% out of the money. I just realized I forgot to do something at the beginning of the video, and I don't want to forget, so I'm going to click right here, and we'll come right back to it. I always want to show my appreciation. I even wrote myself a note to make sure I didn't forget, and somehow I just jumped right into it. I want to say a special thank you to DLED. It's like DLEDesma, DLEDESma 6675 with the super thanks, and then Darren Winslow again. He just did this a couple days ago and then did it again, $5. So definitely appreciate it, right? Not expected, and so I don't want to act like it's no big deal. So I will be calling you out and thanking you every time. All right, back to our regular scheduled program. IBIT went down 0.5%. There's no options to go along with that, so it's just a decrease in value from that drop to 66.33. Mara Holdings was down 3.5% today. That brought their 21s 11.5% out of the money. MBTX right here, we don't own any shares. We just have two spreads. The first one is a credit call spread. Those 295s are 6.7% out of the money. So that's looking fairly safe, but they're out till August 15th. And then the second one is a debit put spread, or a bear put spread, where they purchased the 230. The stock's currently at 276. So those are out of the money, and to win a bear put spread, you need them to go in the money, or you need to quickly approach it with all this time left, because they're out till the end of the year. There was a point where these were worth $6 million. They're already down to being worth $3.3 million. So this trade is not going well. Mercado Libre down 1.4%. The 2470s are 3.8% out of the money. MicroStrategy was up 0.72%. They've got 3 strikes chosen, but realistically, only 2 really matter. There's only 5 contracts at that 475. Everything's at 450 and 462.50, 5.5% and 8.5% out of the money. That last one's 11.4% out of the money. All for this week. NU Holdings down up 1% even, 8.6% out of the money. No action taken. If there's no orange, no action taken. Nvidia down 0.6%, 2.1% out of the money on those 175s. Opera, or stock ticker looks like Oprah, down 0.84%. They're 12.7% out of the money. So they were 25 cents on Friday. They dropped some more time value. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them with an early roll this week. PayPal up 0.88%. They started the week in the money already and started to go up. They just went ahead and rolled them to a new position further up out of the money. Riot Platforms, 1.1% increase. Not sure what the rush was. Let's see if Riot's trajectory was different and then just calmed down, or what. Why barely going in the money? Why they would close those out for a loss? Yeah. So there's your case, right? So at one point, Riot was all the way up to 15.30. So even though they gave up basically $1.30 of that. So it probably looked a lot scarier than it was. So if they had a crystal ball and knew it was going to come back down, they probably would not have rolled those. But the large portion, though, 6,600 contracts at $14.50 are still in play. They didn't touch them, 3.4% out of the money. And the last one, Block, was the big winner, up 7.2%. That took them pretty far in the money. 7 contracts. Not really a big deal, not a lot of money there, but 567 contracts. All in all, they all got rolled to a further out of the money position, which is odd, right? Why would they? Oh, I think they still ended up winning that overall trade, though, right? Because something doesn't make sense. That might have the wrong formula. Yeah, we've got a mistaken formula in here. All right, this is going to turn into a 6.5% in the money once we fix it. Come on. Not cooperating. Oh, my goodness. I'll do it by hand. Hey, look at that. 6.5% in the money. No wonder. No wonder they did that. What on earth? Sorry, I'm confused again. That's a put, not a call, so it was correct in the first place. All right, I don't know if we want to wait 10 seconds for me to try and figure this out or just forget it. We sold 73s. We bought 71s. That's what it is. Okay. This is a sold call. It went in the money. We sold it. We took the loss, but it was only 7 contracts. The rest is a put spread, and since it got further out of the money as the stock went up, the $73 put got further out of the money. They rolled that as a win. There we go. Got it. All right. Sorry that you had to watch me verbally process that, but that's how we came to a $1.7 million decrease in value. There was 182 million assets under management in the fund before the day started. We'll see tomorrow whether there was an increase in shares or what the case was, to see how things evened out. But that is everything. So this is kind of the new thing. People just ask for a 30-second or less recap. So ULTY had a credit of $4.1 million on their trading and a decrease in value of $39.5 million. And then LFGY, like we just finished up with, had a debit or loss of $50,000 on their trading and a decrease in value of $1.7 million on their the value of the funds. All right, we got a dad joke of the day for you if you made it this far. So before I do, I'd like to always just thank you. Appreciate the likes, the shares, the comments. Got people asking me questions on X now. I'm not really looking to monetize X, just looking to bring attention, let you know when things are coming, because I don't know how fast YouTube sends out these notifications when I post a video. So, but thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. You guys have helped me stick with this to see it through, and we're starting to do well. So I appreciate it. We're up, getting close to 2,000 subscribers. Took 2 months to get to 1,000, and looks like it's going to be about three and a half weeks to get to 2,000. So, dad joke of the day: how does cereal pay its bills? Easy, with checks. You remember checks. All right, that's all I got for you. Catch you in tomorrow's video. Good luck trading if you do any on your own. Good night.